And so when Hawkins put Tiller's book at 575, which is near 600, look at that. Tiller was touching ecstasy, Satchitananda, which is enlightenment, 600.
Oh,
And I was really surprised. How could a scientist, a physicist, go that high?
yeah,
And did you know, Tomo? He had read A Course in Miracles.
yeah.
Dr.
Mm.
Tiller had studied it, actually.
Mhm.
And he was one of the first in the 1970s. Helen Schuckman took the original manuscript to
Oh.
Stanford, yeah. And
Mhm.
so he knew about A Course in Miracles. He
Mhm.
also had read the Gita.
Mhm.
So he had already a wealth of spiritual traditions well known to him.
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
studied the Psalms, he meditated every day. And I think
Mhm.
that was where the difference was. He
Mhm.
was different, like you said.
Mhm.
Can the scientist become mature in their spiritual inquiry? And
Mhm.
then they can ask a question in a more unique way. Yeah.
Mhm.
So there you are. I was very adamant I had to meet Tiller from that moment.
See. Mm.
You remind me of that magical time. Yeah. I'm glad they recorded it because a lot of people then woke up to the power of
Mm.
Tiller's work.
Mhm.
And essentially, he's saying, hey, your consciousness can go all the way to Christ. He's saying it in a different language, mathematical language. And
Mhm.
if that is true, and it is, then you're going to be able to create new life, new materials. You
Mhm.
are creating your reality. That's shocking for a physicist to say because physics always says something out there. I'm searching for the answer in, CERN or something. But he said, no, the answer is inside.
Mhm. Mhm.
That was for a physicist, for a physicist like Tiller to say. That was incredible. And of course, his experiments he tested himself to change materials and found, yeah, you can. But the idea is, as you say, Tomo, you have to know spiritual realities and give it power.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
not enough to do book reading anymore. We're past that. So you come across Tiller's um, work through that interaction I had with Dr. Hawkins.
Yeah.
And so you got his work, his psychoenergetic science. What did you think? What was your first thoughts about this?
At first, I didn't completely understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I find it's I could say that this is a revolutionary work. Yeah, I had some background in science, so yeah, I could
Yes.
say that. Yeah,
It was revolutionary. Yeah, it's a
yeah.
good word. Tiller
Mhm.
will be a revolutionary. He was a rebel, but of a very good kind. He served us, and he said science should be here to help mankind elevate themselves,
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
just to be self sufficient in
Mhm.
entertainment and all that convenience. He was saying, no, science should be for mankind
Mhm.
to awaken. I'm using my words here, but that's essentially what he was saying.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you're right, psychoenergetic science is very hard to understand. And that was his simplest book. He had
Mhm.
written many others, Conscious Creation. He had written some adventures, some real adventures in scientific magic,
Mhm.
and others. But that psychoenergetic science was his sort of condensed version of all his
Mhm.
theory. And here's the evidence. Now go. and I would read it, and I thought, I don't know. And that's when I started to email his lab in
Mhm.
Arizona.
Mhm.
And then I met him and I realized, wow, it was like, when you sat with Dr. Tiller, he had a silence around him.
Mhm, mhm,
You couldn't, couldn't grab anything. No, there was a beautiful silence and a humor.
mm,
There's a
mm,
humor
mhm,
in his eyes,
mhm.
I won't forget it. Just the way he made you feel. There was a kind of a lot of times you can see I talk a lot, I'm very energetic, and I would sit with him, and there were times we would just sit silently, quietly, nothing to say.
Mhm, mhm. Beautiful.
He was very spiritual.
Mm.
And I got to know never call Dr. Tiller between 3 and 4 p.m. in the afternoon because he's meditating. It was so, so important to him. And, he
Mm,
told me, Tomo, that he would only work with me if I meditated every day. He said, I will not take you on unless you meditate. He didn't ask me if I have this or certificates or 10 papers. No, he had no interest in any of it. He says, do you
mm,
meditate?
mm, 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 mm.
That was it. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, yeah,
He set the tone from the get-go.
yeah. Mhm,
Yeah. And then what's fascinating to me, Tomo, is that um, you take psychoenergetic science and you started your journey in mathematics and
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
learned new techniques. Tell us about the language. You're learning new things. Yeah.
Mhm, yeah. When I was in the university, my major was theoretical chemistry, but I wanted mm, from the childhood, boys' days, I wanted to know the universe stuff, like string theory, grand unified theory. But in university, I haven't learned those stuff. I had no chance. Yeah, but my interest was always there, and when I read the psychoenergetic science, I understood that this is really, you know, really, uh, really different. I
Yes.
can't explain. I can't explain in the proper words, but it's quite different.
I get it. In one of the things, when I read psychoenergetic science, and I read it a few times, one thing was very striking. You mentioned string theory, grand unified theory. We're trying to unify
Mm,
nature in a very simple way. And one of the things Tiller writes in psychoenergetic science is that his discoveries show that string theory is meaningless. You don't
mm,
need string theory.
mm,
And I remember going, oh my God, because just that sentence is worthy of a Nobel Prize
mm, mm, mm,
right
mm,
there. Okay, you don't need bazillion strings and vibrating. You don't need any of that. Just you are the source of that, and here's the conditions why your intention works. This
mm,
is
mm,
how consciousness does its thing,
mm,
and Hawkins gives us the levels of increasing power over 200, and Tiller's saying, yeah, when you're over 500, watch out, you can make things happen, but
mm,
you
mm,
have to be coherent and
mm,
consistent.
mm,
That is that is wonderful. So you're right. String theory, grand unified theory is what I remember that in his book that you don't need those things.
mm. When I read that sentence, I wanted to understand how that is, you know, possible. Uh, I knew that is possible, but I don't know the details.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to know the details.
Yes.
So in order to do that, I had to study university level mathematics. first. Yeah, and I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at me, Tomo.
Mm.
No idea about physics. And I
Mhm.
entered into his universe. Okay.
That is
I
surprising.
Is that nuts? That is nuts, okay? The first day he's writing these equations, thermodynamics, and he said, you're going to learn thermodynamics. Actually, I was very disappointing. And I said, what are you talking about in my head? Like, this is old science. Thermodynamics is
Mhm.
energy. I mean, but yeah,
Mhm.
go ahead. So you were in university, you decided to dive right in and learn mathematics. Yes, that's brave. I didn't go back to university. I just sat in my empty room on an air bed and with a yeah, I just sat there. I said, I'm not I'm in Arizona now. I'm gonna make a run for this. I need to learn. I'm going to do it. So you go back to university. What are the things you learned in university that helped you start connecting the dots of what Tiller is trying to do?
I didn't go back to the university. I did
Oh, sorry. Okay.
house. Yeah, I learned by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. And what was the question?
So you're learning mathematics,
Oh.
and what were the things that you started to confirm for you what Tiller is saying?
I see, I see. At least I find out the what mathematical model can explain Tiller's model, theoretical theory.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yes,
I'm still learning, but now I can grasp the fundamental concept.
yes. That
Mm.
is true. What Tiller is saying that the thermodynamics are the law. They're operating all the time. And
Mhm.
one way to think about it, and sometimes I say to people to give them the idea of thermodynamics, a law means it's operating all the time, all conditions. So if you wanted to boil a kettle of water and have a cup of tea on the moon, thermodynamics is your friend, okay? And they sort of get it, okay? So thermodynamics is so fundamental. And what Tiller is saying essentially is that energy is a currency of the universe. It's how things move, it's how things work. And he says, what is the source of free energy? Intention. Intention is a source of energy. Not
Mhm.
only that, intention lifts the space and makes you have two realms.
Mhm.
Okay, they're communicating. You have an ordinary reality called a direct space and a higher space called reciprocal space, and they're related. But the Fourier mathematics is what I think what you were learning too. The Fourier mathematic means that um, they are harmonics, in a space. When you see certain behaviors, when you look at oscillations of
Mhm.
your observations, temperature and water was what he was studying. And then when you do mathematics on those oscillations, he was very surprised to find that this room is unusual. It is really not the stuff in the room, it is empty space that is really now responding to human intention. He had
Mhm.
never, no one's ever described it. He was the first.
Yeah.
He was the first. And that's why he says you don't need string theory. You need new
Mhm.
dimensions. And just like Hawkins had described all these levels, Tiller started to fill in the gaps.